smile to the world. What will it take to have a mentally healthier nation? And how can we make access to quality mental health care a reality for all Ghanaians? This is our conversation. So you're free to join us with your thoughts. Send us a WhatsApp message on 055 Reach us on Twitter and on Facebook, Joy997. Remember to hashtag Joy SMS. My guest in studio, Dr. Pinaman Appau, Hospital Director and Consultant Psychiatrist in charge of Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Good morning, Doc. Thank you for coming. We started off with me. Hopefully, we can finish. Francisca Ntow is a psychiatric nurse. And so, what is wrong with us? Because you've made us understand that there is something fundamentally wrong with all of us mentally, correct?
Mamavi, good morning to you and thank you for having us. Mamavi, if I could take just a little bit of your time before I answer your question, to say a very big thank you to Multimedia. The management of Multimedia, they've given us a very, should I say, very good platform for the whole of this month, and we are very grateful to the management. I have to especially mention Mr. Elvis Kwashi. Yes, he's been very, very good to us. I want to say thank you to him. Again, I would like to salute some fathers and mothers of mental health on whose shoulders we've stood to get to where we are. And I think if we are celebrating mental health month, then it is good that we mention them. We've had great fathers ahead of us who have taught us. We have Professor Sari, I'm sure everybody knows Professor Sari. We have Prof. Ohene. Prof. Ohene has taught us and is still teaching us. Professor Sari still teaches us. He comes in, even at his age, he still comes in to teach us. We have Professor who is also there with us day in and day out. I would like to say a very big thank you to them. They are not all men. We've had we've had some great women. Dr. Jade, who used to be the hospital director of Accra Pantan Hospital. She's on retirement now. Great lady, great mentor to us. And all of them have not been psychiatrists too. We've had some psychologists who've been great to us. Okay. So Dr. Araba Sefadide, Prof. Oforiata. And I should mention someone on whose shoulders, or I should say on whose path I followed into psychiatry, Dr. Amma Edwin. We want to say a very big thank you to you all. You've been good to us.
Dr. Amma Edwin is at the UGMC?
Yes, yeah. Now she's at the UGMC. She actually taught me, and the first day I saw her, I think I confirmed that I want to be a psychiatrist, even though she's a psychologist, but I went into psychiatry. I want to say a very big thank you to each and every one of them. So, back to your question. What is fundamentally wrong with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, so we would want to say that every day, day in and day out, each one of us goes through stresses in our daily lives. So, our marriage lives, or let's say our relationships, work lives, all the things around us, our environment, basically. And so these stresses sort of sometimes weigh us down, all right? And when you look at, if I should go in a bit into how mental illness is precipitated, then you find that the environment around us actually forms a huge factor or a risk factor to us being vulnerable to mental illness. So, yes, basically, we all undergo stresses. We may not be mentally ill, but we may have mental ill health, which is different from mental
please
illness.
Explain. Because, when you talk about mental health, we're thinking either you're mad or you're sane.
Okay, so you will realize that the WHO would define mental illness as someone being able to cope with his or her life, being able to do the things that the person needs to do and also find meaning in life and all that. You realize WHO gives those parameters. So when these parameters are affected but does not significantly affect your life, so that it does not affect your function, then we say that you have mental ill health.
Okay.
All right. But when it significantly affects your life, such that it affects your functioning, then you have mental illness. So you can have mental ill health. So you are stressed up, you are tired and all that, moving around. We would say that we are moving on autopilot, should we say. You feel that you are suffering a bit, but you still go to work, you still take care of your family and all that. You may have
You still look fine.
You still look fine, but you may have mental ill health. So we should make a difference between the two.
Okay. Francisca, what are the things, what do you commonly see in your practice?
Well, so good morning to the listeners. We are very privileged for this opportunity. Now, to your question, normally we see, like she explained, a lot of mental ill health from the beginning, and then the illness itself. We have a lot of people coming in with one challenge or the other. Very aggressive, some come in very aggressive, some come in, calm and collected, but when you start talking to them, you realize that there is a problem. So we see a whole range of things in the facility, issues in the facility. Yeah.
Do you often get people walking in ordinarily?
Well, from the beginning, it was not so, because obviously of the stigma. But I think with time and then with a little education, people now would call and want to come and have their mental statuses checked. And then we have people just walk into the facility just to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. So it's getting better.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Doc, we can't live without stress, right? It's part of us, but it's a mental health condition. Is it a condition?
No,
Okay.
we wouldn't say it's a condition, but it can precipitate a condition in mental health. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it can precipitate mental illness, should I say.
Okay. So how much stress should we take? How much stress is okay? Essentially is what I'm asking.
Okay, before I answer your question, let's look at how, like I mentioned, we have some risk factors that precipitate mental illness in us, okay? And we have what we call the genetics or hereditary. So you realize that some people are more vulnerable to getting mental illness than others. So if, for instance, I have a relative who has mental illness, then I'm more likely to have mental illness because it's in my family than, let's say, Francisca, who may not have any relative. But I have to stress that the fact that I have a relative, let's say my mother may have mental illness or maybe my father may have mental illness, does not mean that automatically I will have mental illness. So once it's in the family, then one is prone to or at risk of getting mental illness, all right? And then we look at what we usually would call the body constitutional makeup. So you realize that people handle things differently based on the way their body constitution is. So for instance, let's say the way I handle things is far different from the way Franca would handle things. So maybe, God forbid, someone enters here and tells us both that our mothers are dead. I may not handle it well, and therefore I may go on to get mental illness, but Franca may handle it and move on with her life. So the way we handle things then also comes in. Then the environmental factors that I talked about, the stresses. All right. So if you have all these vulnerabilities, then the stress that you may be able to take may be less than someone who is not that vulnerable. You understand? So each of us may take different levels of stress.
Okay.
All right. So we cannot say that this is how much stress we should take or we can be able to take. But based on each and every one of us, then you would have to determine how much stress you can take.
Okay. Are there some triggers? Is there something that tells you you have to take some sort of precaution?
Yes. Usually your body will tell you, because you will realize that you are chronically tired, for instance. All right? Or you've become irritable when you didn't used to be. So you realize that you'll be shouting at your children. Something that little that your child may do, maybe you snap at the person. Or you go to work and you're very irritable and snapping at everyone around you. That should occur to you that, look, there's something going on. You go to bed, you are tired, and you're unable to sleep. Or you sleep, but we wake up feeling tired still. You've not had a good rest. That should also trigger that, look, your body is telling you there's something wrong. So some of these things can prompt you to know that, look, it's time to sit back and assess what is going on in your life.
Okay.
If it's just that you're tired, then take a rest. If you find something else that maybe you had pushed under the carpet, you realize that most women actually, as we're discussing, most career women will tend to sweep things under the carpet. We get hurt here, we just sweep and then move on. We get here, we just sweep and under the carpet and we move on. Then you realize that the straw that breaks the camel's back. One small thing triggers and then you find yourself crying, weeping and all that. Okay. So we should learn also to deal with things effectively when they do happen to us, so that we just don't sweep them under the carpet and move on. So some of these things should prompt you that your body may be undergoing some form of stress.
If you just join us, we're discussing mental health illness. You're free to join us if you have some comments or questions on WhatsApp 055 1111997. You can also send us a tweet or Facebook message. Use the hashtag JoySMS. So, Francisca, let us go through the different types of mental health illness, perhaps the common ones.
Okay, so common among them, we have the depression, which is very, very, very common. We have the anxiety disorders. Yeah. And then some of the uncommon ones, we have some eating disorders and some sexual disorders as well. Yeah. There are lots of varied types of mental illnesses. So these are just the very common ones.
Okay,
And
so
then,
just explain it a bit when you say eating disorders.
Well, so we have eating disorders. When I say eating disorders, we have two types. We have one we call the Bulimia Nervosa. That is where somebody eats a lot. And bulimia is an English word I think a lot of people would understand. When you say somebody is bulimic, eats a lot, you understand. But then where it becomes an illness is where the person eats a lot and then at the end of the day induces vomiting and then continues eating. Yes, so that is a disorder. And then there is the other one, the Anorexia Nervosa, where the person, just a little the person eats would induce vomiting because he or she feels that she has eaten too much. So with the excuse that I want to watch my weight, I want to, I've seen this model and I want to be like the person. So that is a mental disorder.
Okay.
Yes.
Why do we consider it mental? Because all the symptoms you've explained, anemic or anorexic, it sounds like something wrong with my physical being. What is it that makes it a mental disorder?
Great. So just everything, normally, I know that I've eaten to a point I'm satisfied. I shouldn't induce vomiting. My brain will tell me that I am satisfied. I eat more, I continue eating. So my brain is not functioning very well when it comes to my senses of pants for hunger. Exactly, yeah. So that is where it becomes a mental disorder. And then when I eat, finish, and then you're okay. but you finish eating it and then you induce vomiting because you feel that you have eaten too much. It is your brain telling you that, no, you've eaten too much. So there's something wrong with your the brain.
Okay. Now, I don't know about you, Mamavi, but while I was listening to the explanation of the different types of mental disorders, I was having a thought that I feel many Ghanaians would be having as well. That, but these things don't happen here. Right? I don't think I know anyone who has been diagnosed with bulimia in Ghana. But I'm sure it happens a lot. You are the experts.
Because she said these are the common ones.
Exactly. So, I mean, do these things happen to Ghanaians? Do we get depressed? Do we get anemic and bulimic? Forgive the simplicity of the question, but I know there are many people who will not be able to pinpoint one person that they know who suffers from these conditions.
Okay, so like I didn't say that the eating disorders were common. The very, very common ones we know is the depression and anxiety disorders. Those are very, very common. Then the eating disorders are not too common.
Okay.
We see one in a while. As we see them, they are people
So
who
there are
have
cases like that in Ghana.
Yes.
Well, let's focus on the common ones for a bit, for a while. Depression. It's common, but again, I don't think we. Okay, let me put this in context of a statistic that the health minister shared in July. He said 41% of Ghanaians suffer some form of mental illness. Depression seems to be one of the most common ones. So you can expect that a large percentage of Ghanaians have experienced depression. But do they know it? I mean, do we know that when we are suffering from depression, do we know?
Well, so I think if I may make a bit of correction, so I think what the minister shared was that 41% of Ghanaians have some form of psychological distress.
All right.
And then about, I think if I'm correct, if I remember correctly, then about 20% of them would have mild to moderate mental illness, and I think a little bit lower would have some severe mental illness.
Okay.
But let me come back to your question. Yes, people would know they are depressed. Okay, it's just that I think depression is, should I say, is an English word that people would use, and I'm depressed, and the person just feels a bit sad and said, I'm depressed today.
Or down.
And just says, I'm depressed. But when we say depression, we mean that if you have a low mood or you feel sad, and this sadness is intense, you may or may not have any reason for feeling sad. And this sadness is persistent over a period. All right? And usually we would look between up to 2 weeks. Sometimes if it's very intense, you may get from 4 days upwards and so on. Okay? So you realize that this person feels very sad. Okay? And with it, the person may have what we call easy fatigability. So the person easily gets tired. Or the person sleeps and wakes up, like I was telling you. The person sleeps and wakes up in the morning, does not feel refreshed. All right? And then the person may also have what we call anhedonia. Anhedonia is when you lose interest in previously in activities that you used to find interesting. So, for instance, if I used to go to church a lot, then now I stay away from church activities and all that. So you may have that. But you may also have additional symptoms. That is where the poor sleep comes in. You realize that most people may not be able to sleep well. And But we should also say that some percentage may sleep excessively, okay, and especially in children. You realize that they sleep excessively when they are depressed, all right? Some will also not be eating well, may have poor appetite, but again, some may have increased appetite, just a small percentage, and the children may have an increased appetite. So if they are not eating, then of course they'll lose weight. But if they are eating excessively, then you realize that they are gaining weight. So some of these symptoms are there, and you realize that they cry for no apparent reason at all. But we have to also be cautious. We've had studies that show us that in Africa, we would usually not present with that feeling of intense sadness. Okay,
That's
we would
interesting.
present with what we call some somatization symptoms. So we mean you feel burning sensations on your body, generally, or you feel heaviness in your head. You understand some of these things. So you realize that most of these people will go to the physical facilities and complain, oh, I feel burning sensations, I have this heaviness in my head and all that. And they will do all the laboratory investigations, they'll do and just tell them, oh, nothing is wrong with you. So the person who said, I go to the hospital and say there's nothing wrong with me, but I still have these symptoms. When you come to us, we can dig out and find other, we will ask you several questions. And most of the time you realize that it's depression. So once you treat that depression, the person gets all these feelings going. And that's why some people may not realize they are depressed. But then again, some people also voice out, look, I'm sad. But we as Ghanaians tend to trivialize some of these things. So for instance, if I'm a Christian, I should say, and I feel sad. You realize a Christian brother telling me, Ade, I hear that, Joy, we don't speak Chi. But someone will tell you, where is your faith? Don't you believe in God? So right then, you've criticized me. And because I am Christian, I tend to feel guilt. What the person needs is for you to extend a helping hand or help the person seek help. Okay, so sometimes people may voice out. But
When you bring in the religious angle,
yeah,
that, that's the reason why we cope so well with mental illness, because somebody is going to quickly remana and weeping. You go to the church and weep there instead, and, things will be better because God is in control. Is that how are we actually dealing with mental illness when we use that approach, when we make people buck up and deal with it?
well, you wanted to say
Well,
something. Okay, say something first.
It may help in a certain way up to a point, because church is for a certain number of hours. After that, the person go back home and everything comes back again. It's just like somebody burying his or her problems in alcohol. After a while, the alcohol wears off and then the problems are staring you in the face. So to a point, it will help. Seriously, that's how come, because of some of these criticisms, we hear some people committing suicides. Yes, because the person feels so guilty to the point that the person cannot take life anymore and feels that I have disappointed my God, I've disappointed my faith, let me end it. So I think, like Doctor said, it is better to extend a helping hand than to go, judging the person, throwing, judgment at the person. You must be strong. Not everybody has the resilience that you have. So I think everybody is different. We should treat everybody like different, like an individual. And I believe that will be helping.
That's an interesting point. So what may seem like coping mechanisms are just like band-aid. They are just temporary sort of fixes, but the problem doesn't get solved.
Yeah.
Okay. There are people listening to us right now who might identify with a lot of the symptoms that we've described of depression.
Yeah.
but we are having a conversation about mental illness. Those people might not embrace the idea that they are mentally ill. What do Ghanaians need to take into consideration in order to start taking mental illness seriously? You know, because I think the reason why you guys are here is because we don't take it seriously enough. What would make us do that? What would make us take things seriously?
Well, I think that we've started, so this is part of it, educating people to become aware of it. Yes, like she mentioned, now people are gradually getting aware of the fact that they may have some issues with their mental health. And like she said, when I started working in Accra Psychiatric Hospital in 2006, people would not walk in to come and say, could you kindly check my mental state? But for like 2-3 years now, you could get 1 or 2 people walking in to come and check. So the awareness is, should be there. Okay, and I think also that stigma is a huge barrier that also prevents people from accessing the care that they need. So we should be aware of the things we say, how we react to some of these illnesses, because in so doing, when we stigmatize the service, the providers and all that, then we prevent people who may need the help from going ahead to have the help. Again, we should make mental health care accessible to the ordinary Ghanaian on the streets. The person does not need to come to Accra Psychiatric Hospital to have care. Accra Psychiatric Hospital is a tertiary facility. So what should Accra Psychiatric Hospital should be dealing with is, after the primary health care has taken a look at you and they can't and all that and has been referred there, that's where we can, take. But people should also be aware that all these services can be provided within the community at their district levels and all those. So it's there for them to access it. And that would also make people aware. They may not be aware that they can access the services around them. And therefore, they may not, go in to take
The services.
to take the services, yes. So we should also, in our education, make them aware about it.
All right. Well, if you just joined us, our guests are Dr. Pinaman Appau. She's the hospital director and consultant psychiatrist in charge of the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. She's here with Francisca Ntow, who's a psychiatric nurse, and she's the liaison person for the PR team at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Of course, you've guessed it, we're talking about mental health in Ghana. A big issue that we keep sweeping under the carpet. Well, not today. We'll be taking your questions, we'll be taking your stories and so forth, but we will also be trying to understand what it means to go for a mental health check or mental health screening. Have you ever had one? We've been asking you this on Twitter. We'll share some of your answers as well when we come back from these messages.
9 years, you've trusted Polytank with preserving what matters most, that is water. For 29 years, you've grown with us and allowed us to give you more durable, affordable, and top quality products for every stage of life. And now, we say, Ghana, yet Damwasi, we are still #1 because of you. So, for every purchase you make this October, you can win special brand souvenirs from us. Happy Customer Service Month. Remember, terms and conditions apply. Polytank, trusted by generations.
Everyone knows to make the best of anything, you need the best of everything. That's why I always choose Texas Star Long Grain American Rice for all my rice dishes. Unlike rice from Asia, Texas Star American Rice has a great fragrance, fluffy texture, separate extra long grains, and an absolutely great taste. Whether it's jollof rice, wache, fried rice, or even plain rice, Texas Star American Rice will not just leave your meals tasting absolutely delicious, but also looking scrumptious. Texas Star Long Grain American Rice. It's not just rice, it's American rice. For wholesale purchases, call 0541 811 556. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Let's see if you can solve this.
Okay.
It's a home with over 100 rooms and has space for everyone.
I don't know.
What about you? Can you answer this? Stay tuned. Something big is coming.
My name is Kwame Sefakain. You see, the feeling is always good when you receive a salary alert. And so, I'm making a bold decision to invest a lump sum into the Old Mutual retirement salary. This means I'll get these alerts every month and throughout my retirement period. Life should be comfortable, even after retirement too.
Me feel ahotonkwa.
Invest a lump sum today in the Old Mutual retirement salary and enjoy guaranteed monthly income for life, funeral cover, and the option of signing on with a spouse. Please call Old Mutual today, 050-453-4333. Old Mutual, 176 years of doing great things.
Do great things.
Say donut, 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 donut. Hey, donut, 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 donut. Donut, donut. Yankson cotton donut. Donut, donut. Malaria super donut. Everybody follow not sa malaria. A 3D no not now. Ntow. Malaria chill. Popo. What will it do? I want the donut. No. Lonat scatter malaria. Lonat ide scatter malaria.
A quality product from Blaze GVS Pharma. Yenshishemu hu se malaria wa wumojam ansana wanum Lonat. Na nam yensearch na malaria no daso wo hwa ko hu dokota.
This advert is FDA approved.
He's up bright and early, serving your premium morning radio show. The Morning Man. It's the Morning Man, Kojo Yankson.
Welcome back. It's the Super Morning Show on Joy, and today we're talking mental health. Our guests from the Accra Psychiatric Hospital helping us to do that. Now, having already helped over 3.8 million Ghanaians develop better hand-washing habits, improve their hygiene, and protect themselves against preventable diseases, Lifebuoy, the world's #1 hygiene soap, is celebrating Global Hand Washing Day today by urging and educating the general public to wash their hands frequently with soap like Lifebuoy that helps fight 99.9% of germs under running water. Remember to choose Lifebuoy soap, liquid hand wash, and sanitizers for 10 times better germ protection and to stay one step ahead of germs and infections. Available in all markets, supermarkets, pharmacies, and neighborhood shops around you.
The Ghana Revenue Authority wishes to remind all withholding tax agents, including VAT withholding agents appointed by the Commissioner General, that withholding taxes must be paid to the Domestic Tax Revenue Division of the GRA by the 15th of every month. Check the calendar, today is 15th. Withholding taxes for September 2021 would therefore be due by 15th October 2021. Withholding taxes, including withholding on VAT deducted from suppliers operating the VAT standard rate scheme, which is 12.5%, employment, payment for the supply or use of goods, payments for the supply of any works, and payments for the supply of services, and all other withheld taxes for September 2021 are due by 15th October 2021. Taxpayers are to submit hard and soft copies of schedules indicating gross amount, the tax deducted, and name or names of taxpayer or payers from whom the taxes were withheld. Taxpayers are also to note that in line with the GRA cashless policy, both check and cash payments should be made at any of the 22 designated banks, the Ghana.gov platform, or via USSD code *222#. Please note that failure to pay tax by due date attracts an interest of 125% of the statutory rates compounded monthly on the outstanding tax. Please also note that the third-party checks require 2 days to clear. The GRA can be reached or email on info@gra.gov.gh or by WhatsApp on 0552 990 000 and 0553 280 229. This is signed by the Commissioner General of the GRA. Our taxes, our future.
Now, becoming a homeowner has suddenly become much easier thanks to Sethi Realty. Sometimes these figures, I just can't believe them. A starting price as low as 220,000 Ghana cedis will give you a 2 or 3 bedroom home all to yourself. Sethi Realty is offering a whopping 50% discount on selected units of their property in Tema, Community 25, close to the Palace Mall. Now, this offer comes with a 24-hour security service, potable drinking water, a backup system, and anything at all you would need to make your comfort assured. Remember, prices start from as low as 220,000 Ghana cedis. And that's it, you're a landlord. Call them on 0551 435 555, or you can try 0551 438 888, or just go to nyamiduagh.com. Limited number of units are available, and of course the prices are subject to change without prior notice. Terms and conditions apply.
Now, let me tell you about the Ghana Economic Forum 2021. The Business and Financial Times, in partnership with MasterCard Foundation, GMPC, Bank of Ghana, Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Energy, and KPMG, as knowledge partners, presents the 10th edition of the Ghana Economic Forum under the theme Strengthening Homegrown Policies to Underpin the National Digitization Drive and Shared Financial Prosperity. On 18th to 20th of October 2021 at the Kempinski Hotel, Accra, this year's event will bring together captains of industry, experts, professionals, academics, and political leaders to share ideas on the way forward towards building resilient and sustainable economy for the prosperity of all citizens. Strategic media partners, Global Media Alliance and Asasi Radio. Media partners, Joy FM, TV3, ETV Ghana, Class FM, Happy FM, YFM, City FM, Asasi Radio, and Ghana Web. Call 0209 457427 or visit GhanaEconomicForum.com. The 10th edition of the Ghana Economic Forum is powered by the Business and Financial Times with support from Ghana Gas, Olam Ghana, GOIL, WACPO, VRA, Bui Power Authority, ECG, Fidelity Bank, Masters Ghana, BOST, Ghana Stock Exchange, Arthur Energy Advisors, and Jospon Group. Ghana Economic Forum 2021, Ghana First. This is the Super Morning Show. We're talking mental health here on our show. If you've got a question or a comment, you can send it to us via WhatsApp on 055 1111997 with the hashtag JoySMS. You can tweet us and send us Facebook messages as well. Our guest in studio, Dr. Pinaman Appau, Hospital Director and Consultant Psychiatrics in charge of Accra Psychiatric Hospital, and Francisca Ntow, Psychiatric Nurse and Liaison Person of the PR team at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. So, a friend who's a psychiatric nurse, Kobe Blay, put a post on Facebook and asked the question, what will limit you from seeking mental health care in Ghana freely? Some people said name change of the units. Some said unavailability of social groups. And I want to ask if these are genuine issues that people raised. How else can we call it?
Name change of the facilities that we do have, calling them psychiatric facilities.
Yes.
Well, we could do that. We could change the names. We know that in other countries, for instance, when you go to the UK, I think Franca and I were there looking at their mental health facilities, and they do have names like maybe a bed house, a name of a bed or something on their facility.
So it's not a psychiatric hospital.
A psychiatric hospital and that. We could do that. And hopefully it may change the stigma that people find. But really, I think that is the education that really matters. Because whatever name we put there, that facility has been there, okay? And if people want to still stigmatize, if we put, let's say, Kojo Yankson's hospital there, I'm so sure people may still be able to stigmatize it. Yes, we can change the name, but we should also educate people. not to stigmatize our facilities. Again, we may be also, we may invest more into our facilities. Okay. When you go to Accra Psyche, I'm sure you've been there, so you've seen
And we
the
have
facilities.
only 3 actually.
Yes,
We have only 3.
we have 3. Panton is nicer. Panton was built as a hospital, right? So Panton is friendlier. And I think Ankafo is also a bit friendly. And I think it's a psychiatric hospital that was built as an asylum, actually. It was built as an asylum. So the facilities are quite not too friendly. We've tried to, beautify the place and put touches here and there to make the
tried
place.
there?
We've tried hard.
Even in the States.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, if you go there if you go there now, you realize that we've done quite a bit of work there. So what it previously used to be, when you go there now, you will realize that there's a huge change, and people have said it, that Accra Psychiatric Hospital looks better now. But there can be more. There's room for more improvement. And that's why we are excited about the fact that the Vice President promised to build the facility. And that's why, I mentioned that Franca and I were in the UK because we went to look at the facilities to be able to put together a concept to rebuild the facility. And we are hoping that the government does that for us, because it's really important, as it will change the phase of mental illness in Ghana.
Our law says that.
Kojo is itching to say something.
Yeah, because we're now talking about things that require resources.
Yeah.
Okay, but if we agree that this is important, then the resources have to be provided for it to happen. Already we have a big problem with mental health funding in Ghana. The law says it should be free, but nobody's paying for it. So I remember in 2016, I came to
my
your
facility.
Yeah. We were following up on a story, and we learned from you and your colleagues, that in the previous year, I think you had submitted a budget of 4 million cedis to run the facility for a whole year, which, if you ask me, is I don't know how you're going to do that. 4 million cedis for the whole year. You were given 400,000 cedis for the year, and that was less than how much you even owed your suppliers at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So in essence, we're only pretending to fund mental health care. So how are we going to achieve this goal of making it accessible to all, when even now, for those who are bold and brave enough to come for health care, we can't even fund it?
And that's why, Kojo, I think we should think outside the box. And that's why Accra Psychiatric Hospital is trying to think outside the box. And that program that we are currently running, we call it the call-in services. Franca is actually heading that. Our main aim is to bring mental health care service to the doorstep of the ordinary Ghanaian, because really that is my vision for mental health in Ghana. And I live for the day whereby someone does not have to move from his or her house to come to Accra Psychiatric Hospital just to receive care. So we thought, what could we do? We got phones. I think last year, because of the COVID, we couldn't open up the facility for people to come in to see what we usually do. We usually call it open day during the mental health week. But what we did do was to do this call-in services. We said we would do it for 3 days. So we bought phones for the PR team. We bought some credits on it and asked people to call in if they had issues. If you did not have money for credits, just text. We will call you back. And we did that. The numbers of people that called in. So they call in, we have our psychiatrists, we have our psychologists, we have our nurses, we have professionals on standby to listen to your call. The person who picks, if the person can deal with it, the person deals with it. If the person cannot, the call is transferred to someone. We help the person seek help near the person, or if the person has to come to us. 3 days was so successful that we felt we couldn't leave it at that. So the facility extended it for 2 more weeks. And they did get quite a number of people calling in. We had to do that this year. We couldn't continue it, but this year we thought, well, in the October month, being the mental health month, let's do it again. Let's take the services out there to the people. We started on
11th.
Monday, 11th. We wanted to start it on the 1st, but due to funding and all that, we couldn't start. So we started on Monday. She has one phone, and a day, in addition to her usual work that she's doing, she's dealing with about 10 or
to
more
15.
people. Yes.
That is just for my
For
phone.
her. And we have about 7 people taking calls, and most of them are telling us the numbers of people who are calling in and the issues they are discussing. Franca was just sharing with me that she actually had to sit with someone on the phone for like 30 minutes. Trying to help the person. We can do it, Kojo. We can bring mental health to the doorstep of
But
your
by doing this, you don't make money out of it.
We don't make
because the people
money.
are not paying you for that service.
Well, so those who can afford to pay, those who can afford to call, they are using their own resources to call. But we also would look at other services. If the person needs medication, could it be that we can deliver the medication so that we also get some form of revenue? So we are thinking about it. We are building a proposal because our main medium to long-term goal is to set up a telemedicine unit in Accra Psychiatric Hospital with all these services attached so that we would still be serving the ordinary Ghanaian, but we can also try and make some revenue to sustain that service. We are not trying to make profits out of it. All we want to achieve is to bring the mental health care to the doorstep of the ordinary Ghanaian. So if we can do this with just a little bit of support, I'm sure we can do more. Kojo, I know I'm talking too much, but please forgive me. I have to say, when we did our budget for this month's call-in service, it was 21,000. I thought, 21,000, I can easily get it. Kojo, up till now, I've called people personally that I thought top men who would be interested. Kojo, up till now, not once a day. It was one professor of mine in the UK who has donated 5 iPads to us to help us. Wow. He says he will send it down.
So what do you need? What do you need?
Franca.
So yes, we would need, like she mentioned, yes, we would need call credits. We would need data because some of them would have to do a FaceTime conversation. Then of course the phones, which we need smartphones, some laptops, and then a computer, a laptop or a computer to be able to, key in data and all that. Yes. So these are allowances, or let me say,
because you have volunteers.
Yeah.
Well, so what? Okay, continue.
Okay, so we have currently what we are doing is that people are working overtime. So there's an additional duty sort of because we have the phones, and then when somebody calls out of the hours we have given, you can't say that, I may not pick the call. Sometimes we have people call way into the night. And when you see it, some people send messages, and then sometimes they are called for help. You need to deal with the situation urgently. Or sometimes somebody will just call and say, I want to end it all if you don't talk to me.
Yeah.
And then you have to call the person back. So these are some extra hours.
So you need some money as well.
Yes.
Tell us what you've learned in this period. What are some of the biggest causes of mental, stress or illness that Ghanaians experience?
Biggest causes.
What are the common things that have come through? What are some of the things that you've had
calls,
to deal with?
From the calls, yes. One major thing I have realized is relationship based. Has to do with relationships, whether intimate or even normal friendship. Yes, and it runs through most of the calls, and especially from the females. Yes.
So more female callers than male?
No, when I mean when it comes to the relationship, yes,
issues, okay.
we have more how they called females than males, and then others would have some people may be having problems with sleep, which actually is just one of the symptoms. If you probe further, you would know you realize they have a lot of other problems. Yeah, so sleep problems. Some people feel they have anger issues. They get angry at the least provocation, and they realize that it's an issue and they need help. And these are some of the calls we receive, and these are some of the issues that come out from the calls we receive.
Do you get people calling to complain about work stress?
Well, so they wouldn't say specifically where the stress is coming from, but then they would say they are stressed. You know, and I believe it's because the COVID could be a factor for the stresses people are facing, because some people have lost their jobs, some people have lost their, source of income, so a lot of stress.
Do you not probe? Do you not ask them, try and find out the causes?
What happens is that if we have some people will not want to talk further. When you probe further, they are like, okay, I'm okay. It's you would have to respect the person's boundaries. Yeah, but then others would also, yes, they would open up and then say everything. I remember one call I had to stay on the line for 30 minutes. It was a lady. In fact, she broke down and she wept. So I had to I have to stay and then listen to her, allow her to cry, because sometimes it's good. Yes. Air out everything. And she opened up and said every bit of the details. And then, yes, at the end of the call, she realized that, no, I have to get my mental health into my own hands, or else I would be losing it, and then all my dependents would, be at a loss.
You've got a mental health screening exercise that's happening, right? Tell us about it.
Yes, so today we have, like my director said, we normally would, as part of the programs we would have for the Mental Health Week celebration, have a screening. But like because of COVID, we couldn't do it in the very big, public places. So we chose certain facilities or certain institutions, and then multimedia happens to be one. We are having screening for staff of multimedia this morning, and it's currently ongoing. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. These are some of our efforts. This is one of our efforts trying to bring mental health. Trying to bring mental health close to the ordinary Ghanaian. Okay. So we are trying to reach out to people. And one of our aims is also to let them know that mental illness is just like having a diabetes or hypertension. You may actually be going through some kind of stress that may lead to you having a hypertension. So if we deal with the stress right now, we are saving you from having hypertension or diabetes.
Thank you.
Yes, so that is what we are actually doing. We have a couple of institutions, and Joy Multimedia happens to be one.
Well, thank you for coming. I mean, we need you. But we hope that you're also taking time to check your own mental health as well.
Yes.
I've got to say, this is one of the few times when I feel like we must apologize to our audience, because we have not done justice to this topic. There is so much more that we need to discuss. There are people who need help. This is something that we keep saying we are sweeping under the carpet. But we've had a conversation which unfortunately has only scratched the surface, and that's just because of time. There's nothing we can do about it. We have to make more time for this conversation. We have to dig deeper and deal with the particular issues that Ghanaians have, and let them walk away from this conversation having understood differently what mental health, the role mental health is playing in our society. So we promise that we're going to do this again and give it more time so that we do justice to it.
Because we should explore the depression in children in particular, we have to take care of that as well.
That's just one of many things we have to explore. But until then, big thank you to our guests who have really educated us today. Dr. Pinaman Appau is a hospital director and consultant psychiatrist in charge of Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Francisca Ntow is a psychiatric nurse and liaison person of the PR team at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Thank you both. God bless you.
Thank you, and God bless you too.
All right. Well, coming up, that all-important conversation about insurance. Have you insured your property, your home? You haven't? Why not? When we return.
What would you do if you have the choice to do anything in life? Build your dream house,